Hey everyone, Ryan Kennedy here. Welcome back to the show. This is the first episode of the new year, and I hope you had a wonderful holiday season, that you're able to spend time with loved ones. And I want to start just by expressing some gratitude for everyone listening in. It's been amazing to see the show grow over this past year. I've really enjoyed producing these episodes, conducting these interviews. It's a really good medium for learning and to really have in-depth conversations and bring valuable tips and strategies and tools to the listeners. And I really appreciate everyone who's been supporting the show by sharing episodes with people in your life, by leaving ratings and reviews for the show, and also for all the awesome feedback I've gotten over this last year from listeners like yourself, sending in emails and messages on social media, letting me know how the episodes have impacted you and the changes that you made to your life and what type of benefits you've experienced. All that really fills me up. So I encourage everyone to continue doing that because it keeps me motivated to keep bringing you these episodes. I have no intention to stop anytime soon. So I'm so grateful for each and every one of you. And I'm actually going to be adding a new segment to the podcast. So a couple of exciting announcements coming this year. In this episode, I really want to share a really useful tool that I've started doing instead of New Year's resolutions, doing more of a past year review instead. I'm going to get to that in a second. But a few quick updates and what's to come with the podcast in the coming year. Starting next week, I'm going to be launching a daily segment for the podcast. These will be short episodes, and there's more information on that coming this weekend. So keep an eye out for the next episode where I'm going to be revealing more details about this new segment, how it works, what you can expect, all that sort of good stuff. The other announcement I have is I'm hosting a transformational breathwork class on January 13th. It's going to be next Thursday, so about 10 days from the time of this recording. And this is a really, really powerful technique that I've led online and in person over the last several years. And it really is a perfect way to kick off the new year, to gain clarity on your trajectory and what you want to accomplish, things you want to improve upon, areas of your life you want to change, things you want to stop doing, things you want to start doing, as well as really letting go of the past year, letting go of the past in general, things that are kind of bogging you down, holding you back, any limiting beliefs, any type of past trauma, all that sort of stuff is really challenging to sort through mentally. And when you tap into this specific breathing modality I teach in these guided classes, it opens the door, just opens the floodgates right open to really tap into a lot of these deeper parts of your psyche and to really make some of these shifts in a very lasting way. And I cannot speak highly enough about this practice. So I encourage anyone listening in to participate. I would love to have you in the class. It is recorded. So if you're unable to attend live, it's online. So you don't have to be anywhere. You can do it from anywhere in the world. And I record it and share the recording after to anyone that's registered for the class. So if you look at the day and time, you're like, oh man, I'm not available then, or this doesn't work with my time zone because it's the middle of the night. You can still sign up. You could still do the recording anytime over the following 3 days. And I would love for you to go to ryankennedyhealth.com/breathwork-class. And I'm going to put that link in the show note description for this episode. And you could learn more about the practice. You could look at all sorts of past students of what they have to say in terms of their experience and what type of benefits they got. And you could sign up. So I'd love to have you for that. Okay, now on to the real meat and potatoes of this episode. As we look into the new year, a lot of people like to set resolutions. And it's astounding how many of those, unfortunately, never actually come to fruition. People have these great intentions about, I'm going to exercise, I'm going to eat well, I'm going to get, more sleep, I'm going to drink more water, and also things with your relationships and your finances and your career, your business. All these things are great. And I am a huge proponent of setting goals, making these commitments, and really using some of the momentum of this new year to kickstart some action and to really make some of these shifts. But what I've found over the years to be very effective, and this is something I learned from Tim Ferriss, very well-known author and entrepreneur, is this concept of a past year review as a way to also set the stage for these New Year's resolutions, so to say. I don't really love the word or the term, rather, that phrase, but to really kind of reflect on the past year in order to know where you want to go, what you want to change, what you want to do more of, what you want to do less of in 2022. So the way this works, I'm going to outline this practice. I encourage all of you to do it. It's very simple, but very effective, and it doesn't take very long. So you're going to grab a notepad, and this is a past year review. You'll grab a notepad, you'll draw a line right down the middle of the page. On one side, you're going to write positive, and on the other side, you're going to write negative. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to go through your calendar week by week, starting from January 2021. So starting at the beginning of last year, you're going to go through your Google Calendar, or whatever calendar you use, and you're going to go through the whole year week by week, and you're going to write down any people or activities or commitments that triggered a positive response or a negative response. And this could be done weekly, could be kind of categorized monthly, depending on how busy you are and how many things you have going on each week. But you're going to write everything down. So if you had a meeting, or if you had some work, or if you had a social gathering or a trip, anything you did last year that evoked a meaningful positive emotion, made you feel better, made you feel happy, or maybe the opposite. It invoked a negative emotion. You're like, I don't want to do that again. I felt terrible. I did not enjoy it. I just sucked the life right out of me. You're going to go through and just week by week for all of last year, and you're going to add them on one of these categories on this list of paper. Now, as you add each of these activities or events that took place on a positive or negative side, you're going to put on a scale of 1 to 10, a small number next to each thing. So let's say you had lunch with your best friend that you hadn't seen in a while last year, and you're reflecting on this, and it was really positive, you loved it, and that you would rate as a 9 out of 10 as far as that peak positive emotional state that it brought to you. Or maybe you're writing something negative, and you're writing about how you went out partying super late at night, binge drinking, woke up the next day, felt like death, did not really enjoy the process. It was a totally terrible experience. You might write that on a negative page. How bad was it? Was it a 1 out of 10? Probably not, because then, 1 out of 10 is the worst possible thing ever, but you get the idea. You want to put them on a scale. So now, I'm sorry, on the negative, I would still put it on 10 out of 10 being the worst thing possible. So that would be like a 9 out of 10. So once you've gone through the past year and you've added all these things, I want you to analyze your list and circle the things that were either very positive or very negative. And, this is trying to figure out what's causing you the most joy or the most stress or unhappiness or challenging emotions. All right. So I hope you're following me at this point. You got your list, you got all the activities, the engagements, the people, the different situations, and you've categorized them, and you've put on a level of 1 to 10, the kind of positive intensity or negative intensity they brought to your life. Now that you've done this past year reflection, which in and of itself is valuable, it's time to take action on making the proper shifts in the coming year to better your life. Because the reflection is great, but if you don't use that intel, that data, to actually make changes moving forward, it's kind of useless. What's done is done. You can't undo the negative things that happen to you, but what you can do is minimize the likelihood that you do them again moving forward. So the first step to doing this is to plan it out. I want you to go to your calendar as soon as you're done with this year-end reflection I just went over. I want you to go to your calendar for 2022 and start adding things from the positive column to your calendar. This could be a lunch date. This could be dinner with friends. This could be a date night with your significant other. This could be a camping trip. It could be an exercise session, like if a bike ride or a yoga class or a workout. It could be an international trip, where you travel to another country. Whatever is on your positive column, I want you to start booking things with friends or prepaying for activities. Things that brought positive experiences to your life and made you a happier person. I want you to increase the likelihood that they will take place again. And the way that you do that is you plan it out. Step 2 on this process is you're going to take the top things from your negative column. You're going to analyze each of the most undesirable things that happen to you. And you're going to put these people or activities that made you feel stressed out, made you feel unhappy, made you feel maybe downright miserable. You're going to take this list one by one. You're going to make a list of actions you could take to avoid having to do them again. For example, on my negative list, I had a big house project, which included some manual labor. It wasn't that big, but some manual labor and some renovations I did last year. And it seemed like a great idea. I'm like, oh, I love DIY stuff. This is going to be great. It's going to be easy. I'll watch some YouTube videos. I'll be able to bang this out, no problem, over the course of a weekend. And partway through, I quickly realized this is a terrible idea. I'm not skilled as a handyman or very experienced. I mean, I could, carry my weight, but at the end of the day, I'm not a professional, construction dude. And I could hire someone who is a professional, does this day in and day out and could do a much better job for me and can do it a lot easier. And that would free up my time to do things I do love and things that I am good at, which is helping people get well and helping people optimize their health. And so in hindsight, looking back at this thing that took place, which I ended up doing myself, and it was fine. I was like, I don't want to do that again. That didn't bring positive to my life. In fact, I was very frustrated for a large portion of it. It was very difficult for me because I'm not a professional at that. And it would have been much easier for me to do something I am good at and use the money I make to pay someone who's a professional at that. So that's just one quick example of something on a negative list and what type of action steps you could add to your list to avoid having to do it. Now, there may be some things in your life that you're obligated to do despite not enjoying it. The obvious example of this would be working a job that you dislike. You got to pay the bills. Yeah, and I'm not suggesting you go quit tomorrow with zero backup plan. What I am suggesting on this action list is that you write down things you can do to prepare for a smooth transition to do work that you enjoy in the future. And it may not be next week. It may not be next month. It may be 6 months or 12 months from now, but what are the things that you can do? Maybe as some examples, saving some extra money, decreasing unnecessary expenses to allow for some cushion to make that transition. Maybe it's taking a course or a training program or, signing up for some sort of educational experience in a desired new industry that you want to work in, that you do enjoy, that you are passionate about. Maybe it's doing some interning or some shadowing to gain some insights and experience in this new line of work that you want to switch to. The list goes on and on, folks, but I think you get the point in that just by identifying the negative things, that in and of itself is unlikely to help you to decrease those negative things. If you're like, I hate, doing my taxes. It's like, okay, what can you do to not have to do your taxes? Well, you could hire a CPA. Well, you're like, okay, Ryan, well, I don't have tons of money lying around to do that. Well, first of all, here's your list of action steps. You find out what a CPA would cost to file your taxes on your behalf. You find out what you would do in terms of either working extra hours or maybe a little side hustle or some projects to make that extra money to be able to pay someone to do your taxes for you. It's not rocket science, but it does take some thought, some planning, and some action to actually accomplish these things. And so I will also note that oftentimes you could crowd out a lot of the negative stuff, especially when it comes to your personal life and your personal choices. Something obvious that would be in a negative column for, I think, a lot of us in a past year review would be eating really unhealthy foods, going through and, looking at, and you may not even have what meals you ate in your calendar, but I'm sure you recognize and think back of like, okay, I had this horrendous junk food at this fast food restaurant and my stomach hurt and I had brain fog and I felt super lousy for like 2 days afterwards. I don't want to do that again. And so by incorporating like, hey, I'm going to do grocery run and I'm going to cook this meal, you're going to crowd out that negative activity by filling in something positive. And so by going through your calendar and filling in positive things to fill your free time, it's going to crowd out a lot of negative things that you probably don't want to be doing, like binging on Netflix or, doing a bunch of drinking, or it could be anything. Maybe a bunch of drinking is super positive on your list. I'm not telling you how to live your life. I'm just explaining to you some examples to give you some ideas. So that's it, folks. That's all there is to it. Doing this past year reflection and then taking action and planning and preparing to make some shifts, to add more positive things to your life, to take away some of the negative experiences or negative activities that draw away from happiness in your life. And I found this to just be a very, very valuable activity. Like I said, I did not make this up. I learned it from the great Tim Ferriss, who I'm a big fan of his books and his work. And I encourage you to give it a roll. I've personally utilized this technique, and I think it's freaking awesome. With that, I want to close by wishing you a prosperous, healthy new year. And I look forward to bringing you more helpful and empowering information to better your lives. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. If you found it helpful, please share it along to anyone else you believe it can serve. You can submit your own question to be answered on the show by going to ryankennedyhealth.com/podcast. Be sure to subscribe and leave a review for the show. Your feedback helps to support me on my mission to positively impact as many people as possible with this information. Please note, the information depicted in this episode is purely for informational purposes only. Please consult your healthcare professional before making any changes to your lifestyle or routine.